Hi everyone, my name is Ethereal Fi, and this is the second part of my reading of my story, My House Remembers. Now, I already recorded the second part and went really far, but after watching it over and over, I realized that I didn't sort of make each character stand out in their own way, okay? So that is what I am trying to do now. So follow me on this journey as we continue reading this. You guys were in for a treat that time when I recorded because I was looking good in my hair with the background, but don't worry, we'll get there, okay? After watching the couch burn to ash, I ran up the stairs to the family room and walked to the frames of my grandparents on the wide wooden mantelpiece. Grandparents, I need your help. We're finally cleaning the house. Instantly, the spirits of my grandparents flew out of their frames, with grandmother smoothing down her wrapper as grandfather held her hand. Finally, the day has come, grandfather teased. It took you long enough. Don't tease my granddaughter, she gets there eventually, grandmother retorted as she scrunched her nose at him. Yes, grandfather, I arrive at things eventually. But you've been gone longer. Why didn't you stop me? I asked indignantly. I always did, but you didn't listen. How can I assist you when you're not receptive to me? And when your God spoke, did you listen? You stopped being a great listener, overriding your instincts to keep peace externally. You get that from your grandmother in her maiden era, he said, matter of factly. So where do we begin? Grandmother continued, looking at me while ignoring my grandfather. I've wanted this since I joined the mantelpiece. The granduncles are just finishing with the second couch. We still have the dining room and maybe my bedroom for two of us to sort out. Wonderful, she said. We'll save the bedroom for last. Let's start with the dining room. They both floated down the stairs to the room, meeting my two granduncles, who prostrated towards them. Grandfather put both hands on his younger brother's shoulders in response, while grandmother smiled in greeting. The dining table was a mosaic of different types of wood, broken off from different tables I'd eaten at. For each table I'd left, due to internal discomfort, a piece had appeared on the formerly plain chestnut table that came with the house. It's important to understand what this table represents before we get rid of it. What does it tell you? I thought for a moment as I stared at the fragmented memories, and it hit me as though the mosaic had contorted to a picture of revelations. First thing is, I have my table. And the second thing is that the right tables will fit easily. Grandmother nodded. Why force yourself to sit at tables when you have a table of your own? Why sit at tables? Why sit at tables that force you to build your chair? The right tables will already have a chair built for you. It's meant to be that easy. Can you take the table outside and destroy it? Grandmother said to the men, who immediately did as she asked. As he carried the ugly table outside, she waved her hand. A new table appeared in the middle of the room, wide, polished mahogany with gold trimmings around the legs. An elegant chair framed like a throne but delicate in form also appeared at the head of the table. There was only one chair. Sit on it and get comfortable at the head of your table, she commanded as she pulled the chair back. You decide who sits on this table, and they must align with what your table represents. Look out for their gold trimmings. No gold trimmings, no seat at the table. I nodded in response as I took in every shifting emotion within me. Was this too much at once? No, my voice whispered as the men walked into the room. We need you to walk on the front gates. Nobody enters this house without our say so. I'm sick and tired of watching the limited walk into this house as if they own the place while bringing nothing of value. This is a house that requires an invitation. No invitation, no access. I cringed in response. That was my fault. The gate had been broken when I was much younger, and I was too young to know how to fix it. That had led to numerous characters coming into our house and robbing us of things that, while easily replaceable, could have been protected had the gates been fixed. Each violation cut deep, like an invisible wound that never healed. It felt as though a sword was driven into my back in its entirety, then ripped out, only to be thrust back in again over and over. And I just taken it. No fighting, just pain. Only pain in exchange for peace. I was one to take accountability for my actions, so I didn't focus on being a victim. The gates should have been fixed in the first place and a security system in place. Now that I was older and more mature, I knew the most important thing was ensuring my house was in top shape for smooth sailing into this new book of life I was writing. I'd learned that it was unfortunate to assume others had the same heart you had. Life was all about lessons, and you spent your younger years learning about your likes, dislikes, and how to have a higher quality of life. You gained a lot of wisdom if you were focused, and remained stagnant if you weren't. I knew the path I was headed on and was thankful I'd always kept my eye on my journey. The lessons I'd learned along the way were only to enhance it. Let's go to the bedroom, I told my grandmother as I led the way up the stairs, little me running ahead and grandmother floating behind me. As we walked into the bedroom and opened it, grandmother let out a loud gasp at the scene before her. To be continued. So let's go to the next one, okay? First of all, I must say that these stories are so healing in so many ways. Now we're starting My House Remembers Part 2. And this is the subtitle. The second part of the journey, a reckoning with lineage, where silence speaks and memory brings its own kind of grace. In this chapter, a bedroom becomes a portal, a grandmother becomes more than a memory, and the unspoken finally finds its voice. Coming again. The room is untouched, but nothing is the same. Grandmother let out a sharp gasp at the sight before her. This room hasn't been touched at all, I said, breaking the silence. She seemed to be the only one unsettled in that moment. Little me had slipped over to the windowsill, settling on the pillowed ledge to watch the men fix the gates. Teenage me stood outside amongst them. I don't like visitors in my bedroom, I said, scrunching my nose as I swung the door wide open. The large master bedroom stretched out before us, the cream carpet soft underfoot, and a queen-size bed centered between two tall windows overlooking the front of the house. Through the windows, my grandfather and uncles tended to the front gate. But what caught grandmother's attention most was the spotless, untouched calm of my room. Please sit, I said, gesturing toward the bed as she took it all in. The room's intact and nicely decorated, she admired softly. The tall curtains were baby pink and the bed sheets were Egyptian cotton with four soft pillows at its head. The study table at the wall was behind the bedroom door, and wide bookcases on either side of the large room encased the bed as a form of protection. I know what to do here, I said. Special locks with intricate hinges and a carpet at the door. What for? Grandmother asked as a teacher would. Share the details. For a vibe check, I said, confidence ringing in my voice. Vibe check? What do you mean? Grandmother asked, utterly confused. An energy check to see if they fit right. Ah, discernment. Grandmother nodded with satisfaction. That's all you had to say. I got to work. Grandmother watched as I installed the special locks, then laid down the little carpet I'd made. It was a hot pink one, marked with two footprints. In bold letters, the carpet read, "Stand here." Direct, she said, reading the words aloud. I wish I'd been like that in your realm, she said to me. Why weren't you? I said. You know, she said with a knowing smile. Society, culture, you already know what I'm about to say. But I want you to say it yourself. Share your perspective. You never talk about these things, ever. Seems you brought silence with you from the other realm, I said with a smirk. It seems so, she smirked back. Then, crouching, she floated atop my bed, only her face visible. The rest of her body had vanished. Our mothers were strict, harsh even, and they called it love. It was confusing, getting no softness from your mother, only from your fathers, who were gentler. With that harshness came the shrinking of us young girls growing into women. Don't talk too much or don't talk at all. Swallow every emotion. It's the best way to survive. So we did, even as our tongues burned with retorts and our backs creaked with suppressed fire. We stayed silent. Naturally, when it was my turn, I upheld the same ways. She paused. I don't regret it, she said softly, eyes closed. I didn't know any other thing. I was harsh with my girls and even harsher with my boys. She looked at me and winked. Once again, I let the silence bloom. It was neutral. Grandmother never spilled her emotions on me. In the silence, I heard the sounds of doors slapping. Later, I would learn that they were the same doors recently unlocked, finally unhinged and swinging with the wind. You were so strict with me when you were alive, I said, breaking the silence. No, let me be direct. You were mean to me. I met grandmother's eyes to show her how I used to feel. She met mine with a softness I'd never seen before. I'm not going to replay those memories. Then the past no longer exists. What I hold on to against everything else is that when you'd lost most of your memories and struggled to connect, you still remembered me. Your face would light up when you saw me. I couldn't believe it. Despite the distance and all the time I was away, you still remembered. What made me sure was the ritual you always did before I left. And you never stopped it right up until the very end. I looked at her again and smiled when I saw how pink her cheeks had become. Of course, I remembered you. You're my first granddaughter, an honor I could never forget. It was a feeling. Each time I saw you, I felt something move within me, and I just knew you were someone special to me. No one had to tell me, she said as she put her hand on her heart. Part of her body was visible now, and the more she connected with me, the more visible she became. Those memories make up for some of the memories I have of you when you were alive. It wasn't all bad. You were generous, funny when you wanted to be, and I loved your laugh because I never really heard you laugh. Despite the strictness, it was good to see your love show through in the end. You didn't honor my passing, she finally said. I know. I felt I didn't have to. I responded. Why do you say that? She said curiously. Because I felt you'd been gone a long time and had only just agreed for your body to stop fighting, I said matter of factly. Something I've learned is one can be present physically, but absent spiritually. You left 10 years before you decided to finally leave your body. You were no longer here. I believe a part of you stayed to compensate for something. Maybe to make it easier on your children who loved you so much. But I knew and I had honored your passing many years before you actually died. And don't forget, you used to visit me in my dreams various times while you were alive, looking completely different than you did in my realm. It wasn't hard to let go of that version of you when a livelier version visited me in my subconscious. I felt, I don't know how I felt. All I know is that I didn't feel you honored my transition, as though you were still angry at me for being who I was. No, you just stopped being a part of my life by the time you had passed, and that was okay. Who would have thought I'd connect with you more deeply, only after crossing to the other side, she declared with echoes of shock. You still loved me. I still felt your love. Don't take it any other way. You were willing to give anything I wanted while you were alive. You looked out for me when I wasn't watching as well. You did little actions, so it's conciliatory. I don't need a big gesture or reminder that I still felt your love. And we're here now, she said as she plopped onto the bed and sat beside me. We're making up for lost time, she said as she held my hand. And I'm so happy and grateful that you've chosen to remember me and honor me while I'm dead. Are you really dead, or are you just in another realm? I teased. She smiled, but she didn't say a word as she studied my room once more. I am surprised to find your room in this state. I don't know, with everything that's occurred with other parts of this house, I just thought I'm proud of you for keeping yourself safe. You didn't even need my help. You already knew what to do. The special locks that are known only to those who walk your spirit's path, and the carpet. So, what did you say before? Something check? Vibe check, I corrected. Ah, the ever evolving language of the young, she tottered as she shook her head. She caught my gaze again, eyes brimming with warmth, tenderness, and what I sensed was awe for who I'd become. She stretched forward to grab my hand, her touch warm and firm as she squeezed it reassuringly. Shall we go outside? She said. We shall, I said. As we stood hand in hand, I felt the house exhale with us. To be continued. Thanks for listening. Bye.